Hi, I'm Greg Heym, Chief Economist at Halstead Property, and welcome to Behind the Numbers, where we'll be looking at our first quarter 2010 Connecticut market report. And I'm happy to announce that this is our first show ever in Connecticut. Today, we're in Darien, Connecticut, at the spectacular Federalist Estate on 4.5 acres of rolling lawns. With 6 bedrooms and details throughout, this flowing floor plan features an arched ceiling living room and a formal dining room with a marble fireplace. This home also has a 4-car garage, 2-bedroom suite, and swimming pool as well. Eileen Hanford represents this listing by private appointment only. All of the 8 markets in our report posted strong increases in sales over the past year, led by Greenwich, where closings were 254% higher than the first quarter of 2009. Even Norwalk, which posted the smallest increase in sales, still saw 37% more activity than a year ago. Although sales activity remained brisk, price statistics still remain below the levels of a year ago. The only market in our report to show an increase in both the average and median price compared to 2009's first quarter was Darien. It also took longer to sell homes in 5 of the 8 markets in our report, led by a 63% increase in time on the market for Darien. An increase in sales over $3 million helped bring the average and median price up sharply in Darien over the past year. The number of sales rose 76% compared to 2009's first quarter, even though the average time on the market rose sharply. In Fairfield, the number of sales rose 63% compared to the first quarter of 2009. The median price for sales rose 9% during this time, although a decline in high-end activity brought the average price lower. After bottoming out in the first quarter of 2009, sales activity has remained brisk in Greenwich. The number of sales rose 254% from 26 a year ago to 92 in the first quarter of 2010. Much of the increase in sales was in properties priced under $1 million, which brought the median and average price lower than a year ago. Since there were just 10 closings in New Canaan in the first quarter of 2009, we cannot make a meaningful analysis of prices over the past year. Activity has picked up since then, with the number of sales 160% higher in the first quarter of 2010. A sharp reduction in sales over $1 million helped bring the average price down 30% over the past year in Norwalk. It's interesting to note that Norwalk was one of just 2 areas where the average time in the market fell compared to the first quarter of 2009. Unlike most of the markets in our report, sales over $1 million accounted for a higher percentage of transactions in Stamford than a year ago. This helped bring the average price 15% higher than during 2009's first quarter. Homes in Westport spent 28% less time on the market than a year ago, the biggest decline in our survey of any area in time on the market. There were 53 closings in Westport during the first quarter of 2010, 89% more than a year ago. Homes in Wilton sold for a median price of $755,600 in the first quarter, 16% more than a year ago. The number of sales rose 57% compared to 2009's first quarter. Both the national and local economies have continued to show signs of stabilization over the past couple of months. In March, the United States added 162,000 jobs. That's its best showing in 3 years. On Wall Street, securities firms paid $20 billion in bonuses for 2009. This was 17% higher than 2008. In February, unemployment fell in New York City for the 2nd consecutive month. Forecasters now expect hiring to begin in just the next few months compared to the end of the year, which was originally forecast. In the Bridgeport-Stamford labor market area, which includes all the towns in our report, unemployment fell to 9% in February after a sharp rise in January. It's worth noting that at 9%, the unemployment rate locally is better than both New York City's and the nation's. And now it's time for Ask the Economist, where we answer questions from viewers on the air. Today, both of our questions come via Twitter. Our first viewer asks, is the market in for a double dip in your estimation in the near future, and why? Well, none of us can tell what's going to happen in the near future with any certainty, but obviously we're very pleased in the gains made in both the national and local economy since last year. We also continue to see signs of stabilization in the local real estate markets in Connecticut, where sales are up dramatically in virtually every area from a year ago. Our next question is, are the New York and Connecticut markets seeing similar price increases and decreases? While not at the same exact levels, we are seeing similar trends in both markets. In Manhattan, prices have risen over the past couple of quarters, but remain below their peak levels of a few years ago. This is very similar to what we see in Connecticut in our report, although the increase in activity in the Connecticut markets has been much more dramatic than New York over the past 6 months. Please come by and visit any of our 7 locations in Lower Fairfield County. You can find the addresses at halstead.com/offices. Well, thanks for watching. That's our show, and we'll see you next quarter.